This is one of my favorite cases, and they made it better. I'd like to introduce you to the Phanteks G500a. This is part of, I call it the new G series with the G360, which was the upgrade of the P360, and now they have the G500a, which is an upgrade for the P500a, which is now part of the larger Eclipse family of cases that starts small with the P200a and then goes all the way up to the silent, panel loaded, almost transformer P600s. Now there are 4 models of this mid-tower case. The G500a fanless, which is the cheap boy. It's $129.99. It comes with no fans, no RGB controller. They also have one thing called the G500a performance model. That's $149.99. It comes with 4 of the new M25 140 just all black fans, no RGB controller, and it has a front white LED strip, which apparently means fast. So if you want fast for $150, there you go. You've got the G500a DRGB in black, which is what you're seeing right here. They also have it in white. They're both $159.99. They both come with 3 M125 140 DRGB fans at the front, no RGB fan at the back. It comes with an RGB controller and an RGB side and front strip. The front strip is new, by the way. Now for the base price, depending on which one you get the case and the attached hardware, plus an accessory bin, which is, it's like an extra gift at Christmas. It's filled with 2 3.5-inch modular bays. It's got the vertical GPU mount, and then it also has a cool case, Phanteks plastic case, filled with all your screws and accessories. Now, you don't get the riser cable, but you do get the ability to, for the little mount that goes down at the bottom. You get that new front panel design, which is actually a little bit different. The Phanteks P500a just had a flat one, but now it's almost got a 3-dimensional type look to it. For the size, you're looking at 500 millimeters, which is about 19.7 inches, by 240 millimeters, which is 9.4 inches, by 19.7 millimeters, which is 20.3 inches. It weighs about 10 kilograms or 22 pounds, and the power button is now on the front right here. At the top, you've got 2 USB 3 Type A ports, 1 USB 3.2 Type C port. You've now got a RGB color button, an RGB mode button, and then you've also got a microphone/headphone jack. The case also comes with a 5-year limited warranty. Should anything happen to it, within reason, you can actually get it fixed. Now, before we jump too far, let's just talk about the differences between the G500 and the P500. Now, we've already talked about the revamped front panel. Like I said, on the P500, it's actually flat versus the G500. Also, the top panel on this is actually really cool. It just pops off now. By the way, if you want to watch a live stream with the entire build from end to end, you should check that out right here. It's a great way to just see the build end to end. You can fast forward through it. We set up chapters and stuff, so if you just want to see the whole thing, great way to go do that. But now, looking at the top here, you can see that it's now unobstructed, and we actually saw some of this in the review guide. But one of the things that's really nice about this top panel is they just have side portions to mount, but in doing so, there's nothing else, no other crossbars to block additional airflow. Also, at the front, they've done the same thing, and they're showing this versus the LandCool 3. So again, you could just pull the front off. So again, because of this gap, it's like that the entire breadth down. So there's nothing obstructing fan airflow from the front to the back. So on the back, they're like the P600, just pops open like this. And now, one of the things they've actually created these cable covers for your cable management. So again, very, very clean. That's the difference between the P500 and the G500. What actually fits inside of it then? For motherboards, you can do up to an EATX, and we're talking about 280 millimeters in EATX size. So like your MSI Aces, most of your EATX boards are gonna fit in there. Because of these side cable covers that actually move, you actually have room to put an EATX motherboard in there without an issue, which is actually pretty neat. For CPU cooler height, you can do up to 185 millimeters, so pretty much anything from an air-cooled standpoint will actually fit inside of this case. For PSU, you've got 195 millimeter with the hard drive trays in, or 250 millimeters with just an open PSU shroud and no hard drive trays in. For GPU length, you can do 435 millimeters, so pretty much any GPU. It's still gonna be a little bit crunched if you're gonna use that gnarly NVIDIA adapter, which we now know what the issue is. You just don't plug it in. Really would recommend a cable like this, which we have a link down in the description below, or an ATX 3.0 power supply. You're just going to get a much better curve with the GPU, basically cutout that they have down here at the bottom. But here you've got, this is the Asus ROG Strix 4080, one of the biggest, chunkiest 4000 series cards that you can get, and it fits in here no problem. For fans, you can do 3 140 or 320 millimeters in the front, or up to that amount. At the top, you can also do 340, 3 120, or up to that amount. And then in the rear, you can do a 140 or 120. For radiators, you can do up to a 420 millimeter in the front, which is crazy. You can do up to a 360 millimeter on the top, and you can do up to 140 millimeter in the rear. So now that you know all of the awesome that you can fit inside of this, all the ins and outs of what you can build, let's actually build something in it and see how this RGB beast came to be. Okay, Robey. So that was a pretty smexy, nice smexy B-roll montage. How was the build experience? Well, let me just say it's the same absolutely fantastic build experience that was in the P500a. This was one of my go-to cases to recommend for new builders because it's just so easy to build in. I mean, the top and front are now much easier, right? Because you just don't have that little loose panel. You can take this off, it's easy to mount. All of this, the front actually comes out, so you can mount all your fans in your radiator and then place them in, which is also a nice addition. I should have mentioned that in the other section, but hey, surprise, now you know. Not sure where I sit on like the whole rear doors thing and the cable management. It's already like a solid side panel. There is no tempered glass, so I'm not sure what they really add. Phanteks, I would say one thing that would be nice is just to have it more open, so that way you can move things in between without a problem and still use the doors without having to worry about where cables run. I do like the sliding doors, but it's harder to do a straight run. You actually have cables kind of coming in and then they run down, and that's just because of where the Velcro strips are. In fact, I don't have the Velcro strip placed for this one in order to make sure I get that really nice, clear vertical run. It literally is one of the easiest cases to build in though, and the clearances for everything are they're just awesome. You can get to your EPS without much of a problem. You're just running it off to the side. It's really easy to get to every one of the top motherboard mounts and motherboard connectors. So with the case being so easy to build in, how does it actually perform? Because the P500 was great, so how does this actually perform? So let's talk a little bit about the build we have inside of this. We got a Ryzen 7 7700X, which we're gonna talk about cooling because cooling is now unique at the higher end Ryzen CPUs. We got the MSI B650 Carbon Wi-Fi. Huge shout out to MSI for sending us that. We've got the Phanteks Glacier 1 360 MPH. We've got a 2 terabyte WD Black SN770, 32 gigs of 5600 megahertz Kingston Fury DDR5, Asus ROG Strix RTX 4080. For the fans, we've got those new M125 140 DRGB fans. I talked a little bit about the way temps work. Here's to understand something about the Ryzen 7 7700, the 7900, and the 7950. The way that AMD basically made these chips is they jump to 95 and they stay at 95 when you're doing high performance CPU tasks. They essentially are trying to get as much power as they can. The way they do that is they run them at the max temp. And they are completely okay to do that. They're under warranty, no issues whatsoever. So you have to do something very different to actually measure how good your performance is. And what you do is you use a Cinebench run, and essentially the higher your Cinebench run, the better your cooling. So again, if it takes more work for it to get to 95, you're getting more power out of your CPU, if that makes sense. So in open and closed case at idle, your CPU is sitting at 40, but open and closed case at load, it's looking at 95. Yes. You're seeing double in both cases, but that tells you something about how good the cooling is when the open and closed cases match. So let's talk about the Cinebench scores. So the open case Cinebench score was actually 14,474, and the closed case Cinebench score was actually 19,426. Now this is an average of 3 individual runs. So the question is, Robey, well then how do I compare this against something else? Well, the lucky thing is that we have the open bench baseline Cinebench score with our T30s from Phanteks and our NZXT AIO, and the Cinebench score on that was 19,386. So what does this all mean? It means that you got dang good cooling. And as always, I am rightly impressed with the Glacier 360. Those new Phanteks fans at the front are feeding the AIO, and CPU temps are great, and you're getting performance on par with a very, very well-cooled test bench, which is absolutely awesome. Oh, and by the way, when you're gaming, guess what? You're in the high 50s, low 60s. You're nowhere near that temp. So what about GPU then, Robey? How's your GPU cooling then on that ROG Strix? Well, in open case, we're looking at idle of 31, and in closed case, we're looking at idle of 32. So super nice and tight, which is what we like to see inside of a open air case. So what about open case at load and closed case at load? Well, how about they're both the same at 54? What does that mean? I mean, freaking 54 for your GPU under load is bonkers. This is getting tons of cooling. Again, the 4080 doesn't struggle. It's basically the coolers are overbuilt for those GPUs. But again, this case is doing a great job of cooling it and keeping it at temperature, and the fans are getting fed. So there's not much else to say. It's just pretty good, dang good cooling. So wrapping it all up, this case from a build experience and performance standpoint is actually almost nearly perfect. And when I say nearly perfect, here's the deal. You gotta be okay with those little cable doors that are on the side, and you gotta be okay with like the being able to close off and hide your cables with those additional doors. Now remember, they are removable, but again, it's just something that they've added. What you are getting is that new easy way to access your top, the unobstructed airflow mount system for both the top and the front. I am as much of a fan of this case as I was of the original P500a. The updates are absolutely nice. The good thing is that they're keeping both. So you can use the P500 if you don't like the front aesthetic and you don't like the new RGB bar, or you could go up to the G500a. I don't know, it's up to you. I'd love to know your opinion, because regardless, it's a dang good case with really crazy cooling capabilities. But let me know your thoughts down in the description below. Like, what do you think of the upgrades? Do you think they're worth having a new case? Were you surprised at the cooling? Did you know that's how you measure Ryzen? Because that's actually really important. I love that we're getting a chance to have these show up in case reviews now and educate folks on how to go about checking your cooling capabilities on on some of the higher end Ryzen 7000, and even 13900Ks work in some ways very similarly. So while you're down there, just filling us in on what your thoughts are and stuff like that, why don't you go ahead and nudge that like and subscribe button. That would be I'd be really grateful for that, because that tells me that we're on track and we're doing good case reviews. And then while you're at it, go ahead and ring that notification bell. So when we do other case reviews for brand new cases, whether that's the LandCool 216 that's coming out, the H5 Flow, the H5 Elite, all those other things, you have a chance to come and check those out and get notified when those reviews go live. Now, if you have questions about this case, or you want to ask more questions about PC building in general, then head on over to our Discord, discord.gg/Robeytech. It's a great place to go and ask questions about building PCs. If you want to build in this particular case, you just want to get some help putting a PC together, we have other tech and PC enthusiasts, literally tens of thousands of them, who love to have these conversations. It's very active and a great place to go. And you know what? You might just make a friend. Lastly, we have a lot of, we also build in these cases live. So if you want to go and, I pointed you to it a little bit earlier, but if you want to see some of these cases the day they come out and you're just really curious, follow us over at youtube.com/RobeyTechLive, like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when we're doing these streams. Lastly, we also release content not just here on YouTube, but also on Instagram and TikTok. Awesome trends like this that are on TikTok and Instagram Reels. Or lastly, you can check out awesome fire builds on Instagram like this if you want to go. We're at Robeytech absolutely everywhere. We would love to see you, have you follow us. Anyway, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.